It's your boy Glenn coming to you for the win. Yep. What's up, my travel troop?
What?
And welcome back to another video. Let's get it. This video, I'll be coming to you with the life of a commuter. Cue the intro. So to begin this video, you guys, I want to make sure that I talk to you about your choice in airline just to get things started. If you are desiring to become a flight attendant, think about the locations in which the airlines have certain bases. That makes a huge difference if you're someone who decides that they want to live in base. Let's just say the airline you decide to work for doesn't have a base in the place that you want to live. Well, commuting is going to be the best option for you there. Unless you decide to suck it up and or, live elsewhere that might be a place you don't want to live. So that's just something to think about just to start things off. Think and choose wisely about where you decide you may want to work if you are afraid of the commuting life. But this video is going to be fairly short in comparison to some of my other ones. I'm not going to come through with too much details because I want you guys to have any input that you can. If you have questions to ask me, then come do that to me. I enjoy talking to you guys down in the comments section below. For the few of you who have, I do appreciate you. I see you, you see me, I see you. We're seeing each other right now, you know what I'm saying? So keep it coming. And for those of you who have seen my videos but have yet to subscribe, please hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications because it gets lit on this channel with your boy. I'm Glenn Win. Say it again. I'm Glenn Win. That's what we're gonna do out here. We're gonna win out here. Y'all my travel crew, let's get it. So if you decide that you want to join the airline and you're based in a location in which you do not care to live, well then you have to be up to the task of commuting. And I say that 3 times because commuting is a job. This is not easy work. This is not easy work. Commuting is a full-time job. There's certain things that you have to do when you're commuting to verify and get and to make sure that you get to your destination before you have to sign in for that job, before you have to sign in for that trip. You can't miss it because the airline is relying on you, and you can't be late because then you're going to start a whole domino effect down the line of delayed flights. So it is very important that you make sure you know what you're doing as far as getting yourself to the city in which you work on time. So one thing about commuting is that there are certain ways in which you can make it work for you. There are trips that are commutable. In this situation, I'm going to explain what a commutable trip is. A commutable trip is something in which either you can start your trip later, so around noonish, 1, 2, 3, 4 later, and or the commutable trips on the back end, which is when your trip ends early enough for you to have enough flights to get back to your hometown the same day. If you find that rare trip which you commuting in the same day of the trip and you get out early enough that you can commute out, you might want to keep repeating that one because those are rare to find, but those do exist somewhere. I just haven't found it yet. So like I said before, there are trips in which you are commuting ahead, which is like when you are trying to commute before the trip, same day, or you can commute afterwards, which I prefer being able to commute afterwards because I can come in the day before, wake up early for my trip, work it, but when my work trip is over, I'm gonna get home the same day that I'm off. I'm off that day, I want to get home that day and see my family. So that's really important for me. So I prefer to be able to commute on the back end rather than the front end if I have to have a choice. If I can do both, give me both. So the way that I do it currently is that I'll commute the day in before. Since I'm from LA and I'm based in LA, I'll go stay at my parents' house. I got it made good. I thought this through before I left. I go stay in LA with my parents for free, and then I just go to work the day I gotta go to work my trip, and if I have a trip that's perfectly commutable for the day home, work my trip and just land off of my work trip and then get on my commuter flight home to Phoenix. Simple as that. Boom. That's how I'd rather do it. That's how I prefer. However, other people who do not have it as good as I do, they will probably have a crash pad for their commutes, which is a place in which you can pay for to stay. I think it's monthly. I've never had one. It's monthly that you pay for. It's like a little room where there's other people, other flight attendants or pilots that stay in there with you, and it's your room, but you probably share beds, so you have to change your own sheets on and off of the bed, and you know, and share the room with people who may or may not be in your space. But I hear good things about it because since everyone's always flying, everyone's not always there at the same time. So it's majority of the time it's pretty peaceful. You may even end up being there by yourself sometimes for some peace and quiet. So I never had a crash pad, but that's a plus and or a minus depending on how you feel. But it is another cost. If you live somewhere else and paying for a home, you do have to pay for that. It's usually rather cheap the more people that stay in it, but it's something that you do have to pay in addition. Or you pay for a hotel, which costs way more than a crash pad, I'll tell you that. But you will have your own room, so that's just something that you may want to consider doing. So all in all, commutable trips can save you time and money. I know I started this video talking about commuting, but I didn't really explain what commuting is. So commuting is when you have to fly from the city in which you live to the city in which you're based. It could be driving distance, but you probably prefer not to drive if there's flights going there. So with that being said, that's commuting for a flight attendant. So as most of you guys know, flight attendants can fly for free. But as most of you guys also know, it's not a guaranteed seat. If we fly what is called standby. So standby is when you're on the list after everyone on that list. So it's the paying passengers, then it's the people who paid the super cheap tickets so they didn't get a seat assigned yet until they get to the gate. And then there's people who were on other flights who's trying to get on to the earlier flight and or a later flight. All of them, they're still paying, so they still get in front of you. And then it goes in seniority order. So if you're like me, I'm only gonna be 5 years in soon. Someone who got 35 years and 45 years, obviously they're gonna be higher on the list than me. So if it comes down to a situation to where I'm number 3 on the list and there's a 45-year employee and a 35-year employee in front of me and there's only 2 seats left, well, guess who's gonna get the seats? They're gonna get the seats. Guess who's gonna get left off? I'm gonna get left off. Guess who has to hope that there's seats on another plane? Yeah, boy. So that's kind of how commuting works when it's coming down to only having the option of being a standby pass rider. Reasoning as to why I say only having the option to being a standby pass rider is because some planes on mainline airlines have a jump seat in which there are other seats available for us to ride on to get to and from a destination. It's an extra work seat that's more than the minimum crew is allowed for the FAA reasons. So if there's a jump seat available, then that's the only guaranteed flight for a flight attendant if you were able to book it in time and beat out the other people. In my situation, I commute from Phoenix to LA and I work for a mainline. Well, my airline doesn't use main lines from Phoenix to LA, so I have to resort to the standby situation, which means I'm always on the lookout. I'm always trying to look at the best flights for me to get out on, the best situation to get there and not miss it. I always start early. It's like, oh, this is so much work. But the reasoning as to why I commute is worth it. I used to live in LA. I used to live in LA with my wife and my son. In LA, where I was based. Life was great. I would land and drive home. However, it's LA. What do you know about LA that I know about LA that the world knows about LA? It's expensive. And with my family growing and living in LA, I want to make it a little easier for myself. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. I'm bringing in the money right now. I want to make it easier for myself. So I moved us to Phoenix, which is a lot cheaper. And so it's working better for us. Like here, we could survive in LA. We can afford to live and survive in LA, but in Phoenix, we're able to live and live. Like we can actually make our money go longer and actually do more things than just sit in the house and pay for our bills and pay for our roof over our head and go to work just to do that. So with that being said, we made the right decision as far as our life goals to moving to Phoenix, Arizona, which is a lot cheaper. Speaking of jump seats, there is a jump seat agreement that airlines have with each other, which means if you are an active, meaning currently working, flight attendant or pilot, we can ride on other airlines to get to and from work, still for free. But you know that list I told you guys about? Well, that puts you even further on the list because now you're on another airline. So with that airline, you have to go through who they have on their list as far as paying passengers. Then you have to go through their airline's employees. No matter, you see how almost 5 years, if they have an employee that has 1 month, they will still have more seniority than me on that flight because it's their airline. Make sense? So I go through all their passengers that are paying, all their employees that want to get somewhere. Then it goes in, depending on the airline, first come, first serve as who checked in. So you want to really be on it in that situation, but it's still tougher because you're way lower on the list. Whereas if it was my airline, same thing for them. They'll be on the bottom if it was my airline, but if it was my airline, I'll be in only seniority order after the paying passenger, which is a little bit of an advantage, but in my situation, the plane that I take isn't big enough majority of the time, so I usually take another airline to and from LA to Phoenix. Just to reiterate for a brief moment, commuting either fits you or you make it work. And I say that because you have to get there. You have to get to the job and back to see your family. If it's in a non-desirable place and you don't want to live there, you're going to commute. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty much just saying this to let you guys know that don't let anyone discourage you from commuting, because it does work out for some people. I know people who commuted their whole life. Now, personally, is it better to live in base? Yes, it is way easier for you to see your family, way easier for you to get home after you land off your trip. You don't have to worry about landing off your trip and catching a flight out. You don't have to do all that. It is a lot easier to live in base, but I chose to commute because I wanted a better lifestyle for my family. So it's the give or take. It depends on who you are and what you want and what part of life that you're in which you're gonna be okay with doing. Quick break, message from our sponsors. You see this shirt, you guys? This is the Crew Love shirt, which is part of my brand, Crew Escape. This is something that I've created to build a community of like-minded individuals, of people who love to travel. In this community, it is full of people who are helping each other with ideas and destinations and things to do when you go certain destinations. So it saves you time in having to search things and look things up. If you find someone in the group that's been to a place that you want to go, you can easily ask them of things to do, places to go, things to eat, how much certain things should cost, and they can break all that down for you, simply just sharing their experiences with you, and you gain great insight on what you can do for your trip to heighten it without having to do so much research on your own, or not knowing if you should trust what they're saying on these websites. You have someone there who's been through it. So with that being said, Crew Escape, CREWXSCAPE. We are on Instagram at Crew Escape. I do have a Facebook page at Crew Escape, and then also a Facebook group in which people are on communicating constantly, which is the Crew Escape Travel Group. If you're on Facebook, feel free to do that. And we have a website, crewescape.com, which at the very top, when you go there, you can click the button, it'll take you to the Facebook travel group. And also on that website, you can get some cool Crew Escape and or Crew Love merchandise. I have a few colors right now, red, white, and black. Feel free to get some, join the crew, start traveling. Oh, and if you do get some merch, take pictures in your merch whenever, but especially if you're traveling, tag where you are, tag at Crew Escape, and we'll feature you on the Instagram page, and I'm getting started up right now. So let's get this thing popping. Let's watch this thing grow. Let's get it. You dig? All right, back to the video. There is no limit to how much you can commute or to where you can commute to and or from. And I say that because I have a couple friends that I know, coworkers who become friends, that work in cities like Detroit, but they live in Amsterdam. So they fly to Detroit to work their trips, then fly back home to Amsterdam. And there's people that I work with that are based in LA that live in Mexico or that live in Brazil. So you can live anywhere and commute to work. The way most people who are commuters do it would either try to find a lot of commutable trips, or they'll back their trips up. So they'll probably work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or 1 week on, 1 week off, depending on how they want to do it to fit their lifestyle and their schedule. That's how they'll break it down to make it work for them. So that could be great for you as well. Look at that. You work for 2 weeks straight, you're off for 2 weeks straight. Wait, what? Who wouldn't want that? And the last thing I'm going to mention for this particular video is that if you do get a job as a flight attendant, or if you already have a job as a flight attendant and you're not currently commuting, but you are thinking about commuting, you always want to have at least 2 or 3 backup flights in mind. Reason being is that it shows that you did try to get to work. If you happen to miss all of them for any reason, depending on your company's commuter clause, that can actually cover you, if you showed and you have proof that you try. So like if there's a flight at 4 a.m., 6 a.m., and 8 a.m. and your sign-in's at 12, but you tried to get on all 3 of those flights and you couldn't, you still show proof that you listed and you tried, you just didn't get on, that could potentially cover you. And or from other airlines, you show that you put in effort to get into work if you happen to miss it for any reason. So that's something that you want to do just to cover your butt and just to give you opportunity to actually make it. No one wants to miss, because if you miss it, obviously you're not getting paid. Like, duh, you got the job. The number one thing to have a job is to get money. Number 2 is flying. You know what I'm saying? Flying for free and all that stuff. But, So those are things that I would just suggest for you right now. That's currently my life as a commuter, and well, not currently because I'm on paternity leave, as you guys know. In January, when I come back to work, that's what I'll be getting back into doing. So I just want to bring that to you guys. If you have any questions, as I mentioned before, please comment that down below. Let's keep this going. Let's chat it up and share with your friends. If you met anyone who said they ever want to be a flight attendant, share this channel with them. Let's grow together. I love you, my travel crew, and I have to let you know that you have reached Glenn. Holla back at me again. Peace.